Yeah, so in this lesson, we continue where we discuss habitats of different groups of plants. Habitats of different groups of plant. You are with me, George Chaposa. Now, when we say habitat, we mean places where different plants are found. So, plants are found almost in every environment. Plants are found in every environment, and that environment becomes their habitat. That environment becomes their habitat. So that is what we're going to share according to what we previously shared about flowering and non-flowering plants. This time, I want you to understand or know where some of these plants can be commonly found. Where some of these plants can be commonly found. Or if you are to look for these plants, where exactly are you supposed to look for them? So let us share about habitats of different groups of plants. Now, a habitat refers to a home or a place where an organism lives. A habitat refers to a home or a place where an organism lives. You'll find that a habitat provides all the conditions necessary for survival of a given organism. A habitat provides all the necessary conditions for survival of a given organism. Every organism, it survives according to the necessary condition for that organism to survive. If the condition or the environment is very harsh, then that organism fails to survive. This is where we see some organisms happen to die. So in this case, we understand that all organisms which they survive, it means they are placed in a very suitable environment. Now, if we continue about looking at these plants, we may discuss about now. Flowering plants and non-flowering plants are found in all habitats. Flowering and non-flowering plants are found in all habitats. When we mean all habitats, we mean some are found in water, others near water bodies, and in garden, forest, even in dry areas. So which means all happens to be the habitats for flowering and non-flowering plants. So some plants are found on land where they are well exposed to the sun, while others grow under the shade. So this also makes their difference, where you could find that other plants survive on land, and where others they survive under shade, or they grow under something, under the shade of something. Now, for instance, the ferns, they grow in shaded areas under forest. Shaded area under forest, you'll never find most of the times the ferns growing on the open ground, but they grow under shade. And then in some areas, it is found attaching itself on the bank of trees. Now, let us discuss about the moss. So the moss are found growing in most walls or on the bank of trees in the forest. The moss are found growing in most walls or on the bank of trees in the forest. Yeah. And again, they are also found along the riverbanks. In the river, you could find a lot of surfaces of rocks, or along that river are having these mosses. Yeah. So, water plants such as water lilies and the Savannah weed are found floating on water in the lake, like Lake Malawi. You'll find these water lilies and the Savannah weeds are floating on the water. How? How do you expect these plants to survive while they are just floating on the water? These plants, they have their roots suspended in water, and their broad leaves enable them to float on water. They have very broad leaves. They have very broad leaves, which happens them to float on water. And then their leaves are just suspended without touching really the ground. Yeah, without touching really the ground. So in the ponds, there are a mass of algae that make the water to be green in color. You'll find that the algae are very common in water which is not moving. So the algae are tiny and are in form of the filaments, and they glow in stagnant water. Normally, they glow in stagnant water. So these are some of the habitats of animals, whether flowering or non-flowering. So if it is in the garden and forest, plants grow rapidly with many leaves. In the garden and forest, plants grow rapidly with many leaves. So this makes them to become bushy and cover the ground. They become bushy and then they cover the ground. So you'll find that these plants have sufficient water and right exposure, hence they grow very well. Remember, the plants are supposed to be exposed much to the sun, and as well, they should also have sufficient water. The exposure to the sun helps them to make their own food through the process, which we may call it the photosynthesis, while water happens to help in the formation of this food. Now, in open land, monocots, especially grasses, grow and they cover the ground. And however, in dry areas, few plants are found. I hope you might picture it to say plants really need water for them to survive. There's sufficient water. Now, in dry areas, we say there are few plants which are found in dry areas. This means, as far as the soil is dry, very few plants happen to survive. More especially, the dicots can happen to have a chance to survive than the monocots. Right. The reason could be the dicots, they have got deep-rooted or tap-rooted roots which might be able to get the underground water, while the fibrous roots are very, very small, which are attached to the base of the plant and could not be enabled to get enough water for the plant to survive. So this makes that in dry areas, very few plants should be found. So the plants which could survive in the dry area, this could be the plant like the cactus, the euphorbias, and the acacia plants. Of course, these plants, they have got storage materials because they might keep water for some time. Yeah, they might keep water for some time. So if it happens that the water has gone dry, they are able to restore that water from their storage facilities. So the plants in dry areas have small leaves, and some do not have leaves. More especially, some of the plants, when it comes to dry season, some they shade their leaves, while some they have small leaves, and some do not have leaves at all. For them not to have leaves, they happen to shade those leaves. For those who have got small leaves, which means those leaves help, or this enables them to reduce loss of water over their leaves through this process, what we call transpiration. The process which we might call transpiration. Yeah, so this happens to be also a problem whereby if the plant has got a lot of leaves, it also happens to lose a lot of water through this process, what we call transpiration. But if these plants happen to shed their leaves during the dry season, which helps them to have a lot of water for them to survive for that time. Leaves are just there sometimes. Of course, the function of leaves is to make food for the plant, but at some cases, they happen also to release water into the atmosphere through that process which we call transpiration. Yeah, so due to lack of enough water, many plants are not found in dry areas. For those which cannot happen to keep water or cannot happen to survive using the remaining moisture, then they happen to die, or they may come to survive in the next rainy season. Yeah, so most of the ground is bare when you see that a lot of plants die. If a lot of plants die, you find that most of the ground becomes bare. So these are some of the examples which I might show you of the plants which can survive at least in harsh condition where water is not really enough. We may have the cactus, and then we have the phobias, and then the acacias. All these plants are very, very resistant plants to dry season. Now, in the savanna grassland, you'll find that the grass grows tall under the tree, and it is usually tough. The grass grows tall under the tree, and it is usually tough. Why do you think could be the grass growing under this? So, of course, this makes it to survive the harsh conditions in the semi-arid areas. Meaning to say, there are some times where you could see that the rainy season has gone. So for that, for those grasses to survive, they happen to grow under shade. And those under shade, of course, there could be some moistures, a little moistures being kept, of course, being prevented from evaporation. So those plants or those grasses could at least benefit from the same. So this makes them to survive the harsh conditions in the same arid areas. So this could be a sample of the savanna grassland, where you could see grass growing even up to the dry season or the semi-arid season. So this could be some of the habitats of plants which we can share. So I know you have been following this lesson of flowering plants and non-flowering plants. And for now, I want you to answer this. If you are in pair or groups, you may discuss these questions. Yeah, so thank you very much. I wish you are able to answer these questions upon following all the lessons that we have shared on flowering and non-flowering plants. The other time we meet, we shall discuss about animal structure and their functions. Animal structure and their function. Thank you very much for being there. Thank you for listening to biology lessons. I thank you. Thank you very much.